The first one, people who talk about suicide are just trying to make attention. This is a myth. This is not true. And people who commit suicide are not trying to get attention. Just if you think about somebody who would get to the point of hurting themselves, they have to be trying or wanting to escape something that is completely more intense, right? Because for you to put yourself through pain, you wouldn't want to kind of like do that to escape something small. So the pain that you're feeling internally would have to be a lot greater or a lot stronger than the pain that you're trying to escape by hurting yourself, by killing yourself, would have to be greater than the pain that it would cause, than take for you to just get yourself out of this world. So they're not, people who are suicidal do not have those thoughts because they're trying to get the attention of the people around them. So that's something that we have to remember. The second one is people who talk about wanting to die by suicide do not try to kill themselves. I'm pretty sure like this one is pretty straight to the point. If somebody is open enough and willing to say, I want to kill myself or I'm going to end my life, it means that there is a great possibility that they will follow through with it and they will do it. So do not take it lightly. If a loved one or someone that you know or someone even passing says, hey, I'm going to kill myself, because it's very likely that they will do it. Suicide always occurs without any warning signs. There are plenty of warning signs. I did a video, I think a few weeks ago on depression, and I talked and suicide is usually a side effect or something that comes along with one of the symptoms of depression. So if you know that, you know, someone, you have a loved one that is already dealing with that, dealing with depression, then it's absolutely important for you to look out for the warning signs. And there's always a warning sign. Even the people that, you know, isolate themselves, they're not, even that alone is a warning sign when you see that somebody who wasn't used or didn't use to isolate themselves and they begin to do that, or they're not talking as often. So all of these things, and go back and watch my depression video, it'll go into more detail and into that. So there's always warning signs, and we have to know what they are so that we can be able to point them out. The other myth is that once people decide to die by suicide, there's nothing we can do to stop them. And that's a myth, because just because somebody decide, when they decide, their minds can always be changed. And keep in mind that people who are suicidal, they don't have hope. They can't see beyond the time that they are currently in. So if you know somebody that they tells you, okay, I'm determined, I'm going to do it, you can definitely talk them out of it. And you can definitely give them some tips or some reasons, right? Because most of the time the person is usually may either focus in the past and looking at the past as something that has happened, and they can't see a future. They can't see beyond either something that happened in the past or the present moment. And usually a way that you can help somebody who is dealing with that is to basically just remind them of things that they have that are positive in their lives. Remind them of the things and the people that they have that love them. And there's going to be 1,000 things that they have in their minds that is telling them it's not true, they don't really love you, they will be better off without you. But there's always a glimmer. There's always something that we can say or point out to people so that they can be able to see, okay, so life doesn't end here, right? Let's say kids who get bullied, for example, they can't see beyond what's going on in the moment. They're in high school, they're in middle school. All they care about at this point is their reputation and what people think of them. Let's say they start a rumor about them and everybody's laughing at them, and they have to go back to the school and deal with that, and they feel like the things that are happening are not really the things that are happening around them, or the steps that their parents are taking, or the steps that other people around them, the teachers are taking, they're not helping. Then they can't see beyond that, and because they can't see beyond that, they automatically go towards, okay, I need to end it all because I don't know what I can do about this. Everybody around me is trying to do something about this, and they can't. So I need to just take myself out of it, and it'll make everything easier. So what I'm saying is that you can definitely talk this kid out of it if you get them at the right time. Sometimes we don't, and there's like 800,000 people around the world who die by suicide every single year. And I do think, yeah, I agree with you, Friendpix. I agree with you. This is something that we need to bring awareness to, because if almost 1 million people die of that every single year around the world, that it is something that we need to bring awareness to. So if somebody is dealing with that, you can definitely talk them out of it. And if you know them, it's a bonus, because you can remind them of the things in their lives that will keep them from focusing specifically on the present moment, and be able to focus on things that are coming, or great things that they have in their lives that they cannot see in the moment. And the next myth is that only people of certain genders or certain race or certain financial status or age get affected by suicide. Everybody gets affected by suicide. Those thoughts, once they're triggered, once they begin to come, they can come in the rich and the poor, like no matter what it is, no matter who you are, no matter what age group you're in, you can get those thoughts. So keep that in mind, that anyone, and especially like old people, of course there are certain groups that are more impacted by it, that suicide is more prevalent in. But at the same time, anybody can get the thought. Like, you could be a healthy person, and then one of these days a thought comes to your mind, and you're like feeling hopeless, and you're feeling depressed, and you begin to have those thoughts. So no one is exempt from those. The next one is people who attempt suicide and survive will not attempt again. There's a lot of people who attempt suicide and have a second attempt. The first one wasn't successful, and then the second one is. So people who have a history of that need to be monitored. Like, everything that they say need to be taken seriously, because it's very likely that they're gonna go back and try to do it again and actually succeed, because they have learned, okay, this didn't work the first time, now I need to do a better job next time. And usually they succeed on the second attempt. The other one is that people who attempt suicide are either crazy or they are weak. And this is where I want to kind of like just channel your compassion and your empathy for other people. People who, and I'm pretty sure we all have moments when we feel like a situation is not going as planned, or that something, we can't see beyond it. And imagine that times 10, times 100. And that's what people who have suicidal thoughts experience, that pain that they experience. And I've gone through some emotional pain. Emotional pain is nothing, my opinion, right? Emotional pain is nothing compared to physical pain is nothing compared to emotional pain, because it is something that is going on internally. With physical pain, you could take a pill, if you have a migraine, you could take a pain reliever. You could take something to pretty much help relieve the pain. But when you deal with emotional pain, it's extremely, extremely, extremely hard for you to see beyond that, or for you to be able to navigate and manage that, because there is no medication that you can actually do. Of course, if you're in therapy, you can talk it through, have somebody right there to help you process some of that stuff. But emotional pain, and when it is extreme and when it's hard and difficult, sometimes it's extremely hard to see beyond that or to relieve it. So if you have that pain, let's say you have that same pain for 6 months, let's say your head never stopped hurting for 6 months, that would be extremely difficult for you to deal with. So that's what I want you to think about with people who are dealing with suicidal thoughts, because they have that pain and that pain doesn't stop. And most of them, and all people who contemplate suicide, is because they want that pain to stop. So thinking of them as crazy, thinking of them as weak, or whatever other words or adjectives we use for them, it's not realistic to do that, because they go through, like, being in that space and not seeing a future and not seeing beyond that is really hard. It's really hard to do. And around that time, they need support. They need to know that they're not alone. They need to know that there are people that love them, and that's how you can pretty much help them. And people who have suicidal thoughts are not trying to manipulate anybody. That's something that I think we need to make clear. They're not trying to manipulate other people, but their main goal is to stop the pain that they're feeling internally. When people become suicidal, they will always be suicidal. That's a myth, because sometimes when you remove the depression or you deal with the underlying issues that are causing the person to feel this way, the suicidal thoughts will also go with that. So if somebody was suicidal, goes to therapy, process with friends, journal, take care of themselves, they will be able to get to a point in their lives where they don't experience the suicidal thoughts. Because as long as they have hope and that they're able to see beyond, then those feelings and those thoughts wouldn't usually come. And I'll just go over a few more, and then I'll be done for today. You should never ask, that's very important, you should never ask people who are suicidal if they are thinking about suicide, or if they have thoughts about a method, because just talking about it will give them the idea. False, false, false. Absolutely ask directly. Okay, you're saying that you're feeling sad. You haven't been showing up to anything that we've been having. You have lost a lot of weight, right? You haven't really been sleeping based on what you just told me just now. Do you find that you have thoughts that you want to hurt yourself, or that you want to do anything that is harmful to yourself? Ask directly. Have you ever had thoughts that you didn't want to be here anymore? Ask those questions directly. Ask those questions without cutting corners or going around in circles, because it's important for you to know and get a clear answer, right? It's important for you to get that clear answer, because unless you do that, you're not really gonna know. What's the point of staying in front of the person and listening to them talk and then go and just wonder, I wonder if this person is okay. I wonder if they're gonna do anything to hurt themselves. I wonder. Instead of wondering, ask directly. Have you ever thought of hurting yourself? And what that does, it won't put the idea in their minds if they weren't already thinking about it. And if they were thinking about it, maybe that's, as they are being vulnerable with you, that will be an opportunity for them to tell you, hey, yeah, I've thought of that. And the Christian version of suicidal thoughts is, oh God, just take me out of this earth. Right? It doesn't sound like I'm going to do something to hurt myself. It's like, God, just take me with you, or take me out of this earth. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. And yes, these do qualify as suicidal thoughts. So be mindful of those, and keep track of them, because they, if nourished, they can actually become something more. When people who are suicidal feel better, they are no longer suicidal. Nope. That's very important. Usually, once the person has made up their minds that they're gonna do it, or that they're gonna kill themselves, they absolutely would get into a moment where they feel better. They would get into a space where they're good. They even may seem happy. They even may seem like everything is fine, everything is well. If you see someone come from a deep depression or an isolating phase where they weren't used to, and then overnight you haven't heard of them doing anything different, you haven't heard of them trying new things, or talking to a therapist, or getting medication, for example, from someone, if it's a chemical imbalance in their brains, and you see the next day they're like fine, and you see like nothing was wrong, it could be because they've decided to do it. And that usually will bring a sense of relief, because they're like, I'm finally going to be free from whatever it is, especially if the issue is still around. Like I gave the example of the kid that was being bullied earlier. Especially if the bullying is still happening, and you see them all of a sudden, like a sudden shift in behavior, in mood, in the way that they feel, super major warning sign, major red flag, so that you can know, okay, this person might have a plan. And I wouldn't say to go directly to them to confront them, but there are like other ways of speaking to the people around them, maybe a parent, or if it's a friend, even speaking to them directly about it, and encouraging them and asking them, or booking them a therapy session, so that they can be able to begin to talk about these things. Yeah. People who are, and that's the last one, people who are suicidal do not seek help. That is false. There are a lot of people who are suicidal that they do reach out for help, but sometimes they don't feel that it's helpful, or the people in their lives are just not able to support them in the way that they need to. So I would say that in all, that if you don't know what to do, give them the number of the suicide hotline. Okay, I think I'm back. If you Google the suicide hotline phone number, you will be able to find that. And also finding a local therapist, a therapist in your state that will be able to help them. I think acting as promptly as possible will be helpful, because it could be the difference between the person living or them dying. So I think we all have responsibility towards our loved ones, to just keep an eye on them, and also noticing in ourselves when those things are happening to us, and when we do need to seek help for ourselves. And one thing that I always say, therapy can only work as much as far as your commitment will reach.